Hello everyone, welcome to my wrap-up for August, and I managed to read 8 books. There's Millie protecting the host again. So yeah, there's some hits and some misses. Some I really enjoyed, others were just so-so. So I'll start with the first book, and that is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And this is actually her debut novel. And I do have to check to see if she's written any since. Well, this is 2022, so whether she's coming up with another one, but this is a very good novel for being a debut novel. And it follows Tova, who is a 70-year-old woman, and her husband just had passed away a few years before, and 30 years ago, her 18-year-old son disappeared. He was presumed drowned, and this just shows her life, how she's dealing with the loneliness and grief. She's taken a job at an aquarium to, not that she needs it, but it just helps distract her from her grief and loneliness. She does have some friends that she meets with, but she still feels quite lonely and isolated. And she decides to sell her house and then move into like a retirement community. And this, there's a octopus called Marcellus at the aquarium that she becomes kind of, well, I guess, friends with. And yeah, octopus are so intelligent. It's just amazing how intelligent they are. So the point of view is actually told by the octopus at times. And then a young man comes to town, and they become acquainted, and then the octopus sort of helps kind of wrap up the mystery of her son's disappearance and that. So yeah, there's a lot of like found family. The characters are great. I love the point of view of Marcellus. Very bittersweet ending, but is very simply told. It's not like fancy prose or anything deep or anything like that. It's just a very simply told story about grief and loneliness, and trying to make a new life, making new friends, and that sort of thing. So yeah, I give it about a 4.5 stars. It was actually a very sweet story. And this is The River by Peter Heller, and this one I thought was quite appropriate for all the wildfires that are going around the world. Canada's been hit very hard this summer. It's been going on for months, and they assume it's going to continue. So this one, there's 2 young American men. They are quite outdoorsy, so they go up to northern Canada, and they want to travel along this river for a few weeks. And along the way, they discover that there's a forest fire quickly advancing to their position, so they decide they better move upriver to the nearest town. That was a weird noise. Which is like at least a 2-week trip away. So along the way, they see these 2 gentlemen, and they warn them of the fire, and they're like, don't worry about it. Yeah, whatever. And then further along, they hear a man and a woman arguing. They don't see them, but they hear them arguing. The next morning, the man is canoeing away upriver, but they don't know what happened to the woman. And yeah, there's just a mystery of what happened to the woman, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. The middle of the book kind of lagged. There's a lot of flashbacks to their these 2 gentlemen in their younger years and what happened in their childhood to make them what the men they are today, and that sort of things. It did lag a bit in the middle. It did kind of pick up at the end there. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. Maybe about 3.5 star. And this is Grave Goods by Ariana Franklin, and this is the 3rd book in the Mistress of the Art of Death novel. I really love this this series. There's, I think, 2 more books in the series, but unfortunately the author passed away, I think in 2011, and her daughter ended up finishing her last book. This takes place in 1176 England. So yeah, I just love that time period. It follows Adelia, who is a doctor from Salerno, Italy. She was an orphan. She was raised in Salerno. Salerno had the only medical school that actually took women and let them become doctors, though they still had some restrictions. She was called to England by King Henry II to solve some murders in this town, and then she ended up staying because King Henry really didn't give her permission to go back. And it just follows like murder mysteries and that sort of thing in these novels. This one follows Glastonbury Abbey, where people believe that the legendary King Arthur may be buried, and there's always rebellions against King Henry II by the Welsh people, and he was always like fighting off these rebellions. And the Welsh people felt that King Arthur was going to be resurrected and become their leader again and fight off the English. So King Henry II asked Adelia to go and pronounce these bones that they found in this abbey to be King Arthur, and that way the Welsh would really know that he's not going to be resurrected, so they quit rebelling and all this stuff. And anyway, there's a murder mystery along the way. It's there's a lot of different side stories going on. I love the characters. I love Adelia. Yeah, I really like this series. And this is The Monsters We Make by Kaylee White. And this is very loosely based on the disappearance of two newspaper boys, delivery boys, in the early 80s in Iowa, who just mysteriously disappeared while they were delivering papers in the morning. And they disappeared like a few years apart. And this follows a detective who is kind of haunted by the first disappearance. He's just haunted by the fact that he couldn't find this first child, and then he has to take on this second case of the child disappearing. It also follows a family, a single woman with her teenage daughter and younger son. And yeah, it just, it was okay. It just sort of summed up that you can never really trust your neighbors. Some people kind of focus on the wrong people, like this detective was kind of focusing on the wrong person, and how no one ever really knows what's going on with the neighbor. He could seem like the nicest guy, and he could be the guilty one, and how difficult it is to find these children. And I mean, there's nothing really new about it. I kind of figured out who it was not too far in. It was just kind of fell flat for me. So I only give it like maybe a 2.5 or 3 stars. It just didn't quite grip me. And this is The Nature of Fragile Things by Susan Meisner, and she has a new book out. I'm just waiting for it to become like a decent price. But I did read As Bright as Heaven previously from her, and that took place in the early 19th century. It followed a family that just before World War I broke out, and how they survived during the First World War, and then the pandemic of 1918 happened, and how their family dealt with it and that sort of thing. I really enjoyed that. And this one follows Sophie, who is an Irish immigrant. Her brother had come over previously, and she just sort of followed him, but he ended up going out to another city or something like that, or up in Canada, I think. And then she was left behind in New York, and she had to share a small room with like 7 or 8 women, and she was hungry, and she just really didn't have much of a life. So she answered an ad for mail order bride, and she was accepted, and she knew that he was a widow with a 5-year-old child. So she goes to San Francisco, and as soon as she gets there, she marries him and starts living the life. And he's fairly well off. He's got a beautiful house, and she's she's quite happy with her situation. She's got a roof over her head, she's not starving, and she really does enjoy the daughter and that. And then the night before the famous 1905, or is it 1904, earthquake of San Francisco happens, she gets a knock on the door and her life completely changes. And I won't give away what happens, but yeah, it follows the aftermath of the earthquake, and how these women bonded over the same kind of bad news and tragedy, and I really liked it. Yeah, this is the second book of hers, and I enjoyed both of them quite a bit, so I would probably give this like a 4.5 or so. And yeah, I really do want to get her most recent release at some point. It's about eugenics, which unfortunately became quite popular in the 30s and with the Nazis and that, so I really want to pick that one up. And this is the story Life of A.J. Fickery by Gabrielle Zevin. So yeah, this one got really good reviews on Goodreads, but I'm definitely an outlier. I really didn't enjoy this. I thought I would. It's kind of a bookshop story. It follows A.J. Fickery. Oh, 2 seconds. Okay, just had to cool off there. So this follows this kind of a miserable bookshop owner. His wife, she died a couple years previously, but he was kind of a miserable character even back then, before she passed away. And so he's kind of isolated himself from friends and any family and that. And then one day, well, I don't know if I'm really giving any spoilers away, but this baby girl, she's like a year and a half or so, is abandoned by her mother in the bookshop, and he decides, strangely enough, to adopt her. And just the way he went about it, and didn't really make any sense. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't happen that way. And you're really never given any insight into why he adopted the child. He's drinking way too much. He's just a miserable character, but anyway, he ends up adopting her, and it jumps a lot. They're like, it'll jump 4 years, it'll jump 5 years, and superficial. It was just very superficial, the characters. You never really got to know this bookkeeper, AJ. You never really got into any insight into his really true character, and the other characters in the story too were I just never really connected with any of them. I didn't really care about too many of them. It was just, I just did not, it just fell completely flat for me. I was going to DNF it at one point. It just did not do anything for me. It was just, I just could not connect with the characters or anything. I just didn't know anything. Even when I finished the book, I didn't know anything about them. I don't know why they did what they did. Some of them I'm like, what, why? And I give that a 2-star. I just did not enjoy it. This one I enjoyed a lot better. This is Black Rabbit Hall by Eve Chase, and this is the first novel I read of hers. So she does the dual timelines, like a Kate Morton style. So in the past, it takes place in the 1960s, and there is a family. An American woman had married this British gentleman, and he was fairly well off. So they have a London home, and they also have Black Rabbit Hall, which is on the Cornish coast, and they go there every summer. And then in the present, there's a woman who is getting married, and she wants to get married in this Black Rabbit Hall. They're just starting to open it up supposedly for weddings and that, and she's interested because she's found pictures in the past. After her mother passed away, she found pictures of herself and her mom in front of this manor home, so she decides to check it out and get married there. And then, so something happens in the past to this family, this couple with their 4 children. There is a tragedy, and it just shows throughout the years how that tragedy, how the repercussions of that tragedy just kept building and building year after year after decade, and how a incident or a tragedy can completely change the landscape of a family, and how it can affect individual people in different ways. And then also when she goes back to Black Rabbit Hall, she also finds out just what happened in the past. So I did enjoy this one. I gave that one about a 4-star. And the last one is Immortality, a love story by Dana Schwartz. And this is the 2nd book in the series. I did finish Anatomy, a love story previously. So it says love story, but it's more of a, it's a love story for the character's love of medicine. The main character is Hazel, and she wants to become a doctor in, I think this is 1818 or so, but women are not allowed, so she disguises herself as a man and gets into medical school to become a doctor, but she's found out, but she still wants to become a doctor, so her and this young man become resurrectionists, where they dig up the bodies and dissect them so she can learn about it. So yeah, it was illegal to obviously dig up bodies, but resurrectionists would sell these bodies to medical schools, because the only bodies medical schools could use were criminals who were hung. And they were in short supply, so these bodies would be dug up by these resurrectionists. So anyway, there's a bit of a murder mystery in that one, and it's kind of left on a cliffhanger, sort of. So this is the 2nd book in the series. And Hazel is practicing medicine, even though she didn't like graduate from medical school, but she's done a lot of studying, and she's dissected the bodies and that sort of thing. And she is getting a pretty good reputation for delivering medicine to the poor people. And at one point she is arrested because she is blamed for the death of this one particular person, even though she is innocent. And then she is let out of the jail because the king found out that she is a woman doctor, and his daughter, Princess Charlotte, has been sick for quite a while, and there's been so many doctors looking after her, and they can't figure out what's wrong with her. So the king figures, well, if she's a woman doctor, maybe she can find out what's wrong with my daughter. So she becomes the doctor of Princess Charlotte, who's the daughter of King George III. And yeah, I really, there is kind of some paranormal, well, not paranormal, kind of supernatural stuff going on, so you have to kind of lift your belief system there. But I went along with it, and I really did enjoy it. It's a duology. I don't think there's a 3rd book coming out, but I really did enjoy this one. I give this like, I think 4 stars for both of these anyhow. Alrighty, and so yeah, that's my reading wrap-up, and right now I'm reading The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. I'm actually almost done it. I should be done it today. It takes place in a sorority, and this particular sorority, they're actually witches. It's the Coven, but they're supposed to be good witches, though yeah, something's going on. Yeah, I don't... It reads quite a bit like YA fiction, so you got the trope of the, you know, the beautiful sorority girls who are kind of stuck up in that, and then the good-looking guy who's a friend, like a boyfriend of the sorority sister, and it's So some parts are okay, but I really do like the magic system in here. I really enjoy reading about that. So whether I think the second book's called The Monarchs. I don't know if I'll finish the series or not, but it's okay. It's not bad. So yeah, I got quite a few books here from Book Outlet and Amazon, so I may next day or two do a haul on those ones. So I hope you enjoyed, and happy reading. Yeah, September's here, so I'm getting into the horror, the gothic. I love Victorian Gothic, and just all those spooky paranormal kind of books. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Happy reading, and take care. Bye-bye.